All right. Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to have Tresa here with Radical Transformations with T. I'm so excited. This is an amazing woman that we really just met through social media. We haven't met
Yes.
in person yet. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little jealous she had invited me to her spot in the Midwest. You're in Arizona, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
anyway, all in divine timing. She has an amazing program, Voices, where I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but she had me come on as a guest, I think twice. It's been great. I love it. She's doing some amazing things. And so I just see her, I've been seeing her step into her power um as she ages. And it's like she ain't going backwards. She's moving forward. She's getting sexier. She's getting more confident. And I love that. So, we're going to be talking about shedding shame and reclaiming your pleasure and power. So, Tresa, go ahead and introduce yourself to those who are going to be watching this live or even watching the replay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I am so excited to be here. I'm Tressa with Radical Transformation with T, and she is the parent company of Sensually Empowered Woman and Transformative Conversations and Solutions. And yes, I think you've been on a look. I've hosted you or you've hosted my programs a couple of times, but we really love you. So thank you. And thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so happy to be on. And hello, Tasha. Welcome. So, as you're coming on, please say hi. Let us know if you're here. Um, we're going to have a great conversation. And this is a conversation that really is near and dear to my heart because I grew up Catholic with a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And, I was like born, I was raised to with all of this guilt, like that Catholic guilt. Sex is bad. Sex is only for procreation. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait till I get married, right? And that didn't happen. Oh Lord, can you imagine? I have never been married, and me still being a virgin. Yeah. But so it's like it's something. When I finally did have sex for the first time, there was just a lot of shame, and for me personally, a lot of that it took shape as painful sex. Like I would have pain, and I didn't realize the emotional connection to that, right? And I would go to my doctor, and I'm like, why is
Mm.
why does it hurt when I have sex? And she's like, oh, maybe you just got to try different positions, you know, take some Tylenol or ibuprofen before sex. And I'm like, what? Like that made no sense, right? And I'm like, I tried different positions and it still hurts. But but I knew enough to be like, sex shouldn't hurt. And so as I got older and I started learning tantra and sacred sexuality, I started to realize for me, a lot of that pain was blockage from my shame,
Mm.
the guilt, right? Me feeling guilty because I'm having sex and I'm not married. So I had to go through and do that work. And then now I have a great old time, no pain. Woo! So welcome, Tasha and Brooke. So for you, um, what makes this conversation so important? Like what has been your experience with shame and guilt?
So, there's been several layers to this. Now, from the standpoint of sex, I grew up in the church. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was always feeling like they teach you could only have one or the other. So I was always like oscillating between having sex and trying to be a good girl, trying to be a church girl, trying to be saved.
Right.
And so I would be going back and forth. It was hard to be present in either moment. And then
Mhm.
when the relationships didn't last, sometimes it was the guilt of, well, maybe because I've been having sex and I'm doing everything wrong and not doing it the right way in terms of marriage and stuff. And then I eventually got married, but yeah, it still was all of that. And then when I think about shame in other ways, um, it was for me being rooted in like being older and feeling like, damn, I don't know if I can cuss. Can I cuss? It's
You're
like, but
good.
being rooted,
You.
right?
It's all good.
Being, being rooted in this thing of um, I'm this age and I haven't done this, or I'm this age and I don't know enough about this, or I'm
Mhm.
this age and I haven't experienced this, or you
Right.
know what I'm saying? All of
Yeah.
these things, these were just different layers of shame. Like
Mhm.
I'm 63, and
Ooh, girl, look it. Oh my God. I love
thank
it. I love
you,
it. You're a good girl. The
thank
smooth
you.
skin. Yes.
So thanks. So yeah, like I think in 2016, I think it was 2016 or 17. Um, I said, hey, I knew I wanted to spend more time with, I knew I wanted to know more. Like I felt like my children were grown. I had just like, I would go to work, come home, I might go work out, but that was it. My life was just a dull routine. And one of the things that I thought, hey, I want to have a book club because I felt like I could know more together than I can apart. Like if I had a group of women, we could all figure some things out. And I started that. And then I went from that to one other thing, to another thing, to another thing, because that did help somewhat shape the way I handle shame. But for a long time, I didn't realize the shame was still there.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing, right? A lot of times we don't realize shame is there. And sometimes even when we're doing the work, sometimes we think we're doing the work, but that shame is still there because there's so many layers upon layers upon layers. And then not only do we have our shame and guilt, we have our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, right? Because all of that shame, that guilt, just like trauma, it stays in our cellular memory. And so
Yes.
even even when I got into and started doing tantra, it still took a long time. Like even getting a tantric massage. It was like, and this is why tantric massage is so powerful. Listen, y'all, if you ever get a chance to get a tantric massage with me, do it because it releases so much shame and guilt. There's many people that do tantric massage, but they do it differently. And you got to really be careful with who you're going to because there are a lot of predators out there that's looking to just get a feel on someone. So you gotta vet the
Mm.
person, make sure you know who you're going to, and and listen to yourself, listen to your instincts and your guts because that's going to be important. If it tells you don't book that appointment, don't book that appointment. But that's one of the things, when I was living in a Tantra commune, I lived in a Tantra commune for 2 years and I would get massages done on me. And like, I would start here and I would go back, 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 back because I just couldn't. And it was pleasure, but I couldn't take that pleasure. It was just too much and it was too intense. And I would start crying and just releasing so much.
Mm.
Um, and even the people there, like literally, there were times like I would be there for like a whole month just crying because we're doing tantric meditations, tantric breath work, and we're getting the stuff out. So you have to do the work. And I do want to ask you, what are some of the things that's helped you? But let's just to finish my train of thought, like you have to do the work to release that shame. And there's nothing wrong in having pleasure. Pleasure is your birthright. And so real quick, a little commercial break, not a commercial break, but really
Okay.
just to say, go ahead and like my channel. If you're new, go ahead and like the channel, hit that subscribe button, and go ahead and hit that notification bell. That way, when I have my upcoming lives. I try to do my lives on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday weekly. So go ahead and do that. I'm excited. But this is a thing again, like I said, this is just very near and dear to my heart because I've had to work and I've had to struggle to get rid of the shame and guilt and to be able to get to the point where I can feel pleasure. So what's some of the things that you've done to be able to help you release shame and guilt, growing up in a church and all of that? Like what's been the big thing that helped you? And real quick, those of you who are on, go ahead if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in and we can answer those questions. If you're struggling in an area with shame and guilt, ask that question while you have us both on here. um we're more than happy to help answer this question and just have a good conversation going so we can make sure you're getting what you need as well. So what's something that's helped you with releasing the shame and guilt?
I think first acknowledging, because
Mm,
one of the things that I remember, even though I was a church girl, I tell this story, often. My sister, my son at the time, his girlfriend was 7 years older. So we eventually became really good friends, even when they broke up. And I would just listen to all the things they would be talking about. And inside of me, there is something like, damn, I want to do that. I want to know that. I want to try that. And so I
mhm.
was kind of tiptoeing around it. And so I started getting inquisitive. I started admitting to myself that, wait a minute, something else. And one of the things that probably most took me to a place like, oh, wait a minute. Because I tell people this often too. It's not why maybe streetwalkers did what they did, but the fact that they own what they did, and they had this kind of like this ability to say, this is my body and I do whatever I need to do, or whether it was just for pleasure or whatever. And so I remember thinking, about that. And so, um, as I begin to get more open, the universe will open for you what you need. So here one day I see this thing with Jay English, and he's doing his sacred sexuality workshops.
Yes.
Now, granted, when I first start coming out to the work that I'm doing, once I realized, and I just kind of started taking my journey, I was doing a lot of stuff on Facebook even before I started with my sister circles called Voices, which stands for Voicing Our Integrity, Choices, and Expectations Successfully. That's where you came and taught a lot. um I would, and I was meeting a lot of women, and they were talking about different things, particularly sex. We were getting a lot of that,
Mhm.
and we would be doing a lot of lives. Well, I saw that, and one day I said, hey, I want you to come to Michigan. And I got the people together
Yeah.
2 months in a row, and he came. And there was another opening for me, because a lot
Mm,
of it too is being curious, being willing to explore. Also, the shadow work within myself, because
yeah.
I was sexually abused. So at this point, like, you're trying to understand, and I start to understand that I have been using sex as a way of performing, or trying to get needs met, and not really because I was enjoying the thing, you know. And so that led me even further. Like I said, I probably was in my early 50s to mid 50s,
Mm,
where I had my first vaginal orgasm, not oral
okay.
sex, but vaginal. But the
Mhm.
person that I was with, I was able to open, because that was the kind of relationship that we had, where I was so comfortable with
Yeah.
him that even if I didn't totally trust myself, I trusted him enough to feel safe to open myself up. And that's one of the things why I really want women to understand, that it's such a beautiful experience to start tapping in. And now, although I do sometimes talk about sex, I don't do as much work around sex like you do and some of the other ladies that I know. But I
Mhm.
definitely hear about teaching women to tap into their sensuality,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
So because getting tapping into your senses, like, they really, when you can be present and know who you are and know what you love and know what you desire. I often say pleasure is my medicine.
Yes.
It's really, it's really, this is good medicine, the kind that won't leave you with all these after effects and all these
Mhm.
things, where you can really live a life where you start finding yourself um being autonomous with your life, like you're choosing.
Yes, exactly. And that's so important, what you're saying, right? Because I know even for me too, right? Like, at one point, because sometimes what we do is we go to an extreme, right? And so at one point, I was just having sex, a lot of sex, like, because I something was, something was like missing, and I think it was all connected to that shame and guilt, but it wasn't because I wanted to do it. It was because there was something going on psychologically in my head. And it was like, so now, but I would always like after the end, afterwards, I would feel empty. I would feel unsatisfied, Um, and again, that's also because of the guilt. But I kept seeking. I'm like, this thing is supposed to give pleasure, but I'm not feeling it. I'm only feeling pain, and I'm doing it more and more. And then I'm feeling empty afterwards. I'm feeling all kinds of emotions. I'm like, this doesn't feel good. Like, what is everyone talking about? So I'm going more and more and more. And so similar to you, I hadn't had an orgasm until later on, vaginal orgasm. Um, Clitoral, I wasn't even having that either. And then it wasn't until 35 that I probably had my very first orgasm and my very first time squirting. It was with that same partner. So, and it's crazy, like at 35, but I also meet so many women in their 40s and their 50s that they don't know their
I
anatomy.
was
They
in
don't,
my mid 50s talking about
right?
that. Even when I squirted the first time, I was in my mid 50s, probably, yeah. So, I'm just saying,
Yeah, that's not so uncommon because
no,
again, we have so much of this shame and this guilt. And so getting rid of it, and a lot of it comes not just from church, but people who are in the church, but not just that, because even society, media makes us feel bad. So I got a couple comments. Let's read these comments.
okay,
And thank you, y'all, for coming on and making comments. Again, if you're on here and you want to ask some questions, go ahead and ask. So I got Seize the Stars. Good evening, ladies. And let me put up here. Good evening, ladies. Thank you for this conversation. I'm deconstructing a Pentecostal background along with eldest daughter trauma. Releasing shame has been a priority. So beautiful. I'm so
yes,
glad you're doing that. So glad. That's important.
yes,
And I'm glad you brought up eldest daughter trauma because your place in your birth is so important. There's so many different types of traumas and different things that you deal with, from being the eldest, from being the middle, from being the baby, right? And I used to work with this in my private practice. So I'm not sure how many of you don't know me. So actually, let me go ahead and introduce myself real quick,
okay,
because a lot of people in here, I'm saying for the first time. I had Tresa introduce herself. So welcome. Thank you guys for coming onto my channel. My name is Dr. Prandhara Prem. I am a ordained minister, doctor of divinity. I have a master's in psychology and a postgraduate degree in transpersonal psychology. So, my background is in traditional psychotherapies. I used to have a private practice when I lived in Maryland, doing talk therapy. And then I ended up moving to Brazil. In Brazil, I got my postgraduate transpersonal psychology degree. Then I ended up learning about Tantra. I lived in a Tantra commune for 2 years. It's called Metamorphosis. I learned how to do tantric rebirthing.
hmm,
I became a breath work, certified breath worker, doing tantric massage, tantra yoga, tantra meditation. We follow Osho, and then I also did a medicine woman training and a certification and a 13-month apprenticeship in Brazil as well. I lived in Brazil for 14 years. And the last of the 13-month apprenticeship, we spent 3 weeks in the Amazon. So I've been doing plant medicine. Those 3 weeks, I did ayahuasca 9 times in 3 weeks. I've been doing Hampe, Kambo, all of these plant medicines. And so now here in the States, I do lead ceremonies with Hape, cacao ceremonies. I'm actually doing a cacao and cuddles this Sunday, July 19th. And then I have a retreat in Brazil, January 27th to February 5th, where we're going to be deep in Salvador Bahia, Black Rome. We're going to be doing work with the Huni Queen. I did a lot of work with the Huni Queen. That's a tribe, indigenous tribe in Brazil. We're going to be doing ayahuasca, San Pedro. I mean, not San Pedro, ayahuasca, Cambo, and Sananga and cacao. So it's going to be great. Now, let me get to these statements. Okay. So again, let me just repeat. Sees the stars. Good evening, ladies. So she's deconstructing a Pentecostal background along with the eldest daughter trauma. So how are you deconstructing um, your shame and guilt regarding from being from a Pentecostal background, because I know a lot of times, our religious beliefs go so deep. And so, like, for me, part of the work was like leaving the church. I mean, I still have a relationship with God. I still consider myself Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. And I just kind of had to start changing and shifting and just becoming aware, like you said, becoming aware of what's happening, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and when different thoughts come up, just catching myself. Wait a minute, why do I have this thought, and where does that come from?
Yes.
You know, yeah. So, is there anything you want to add to what Sees the Stars said?
No, I too came from Pentecostal background, but I was very fortunate because I used to always pray that I'd never get caught up in religion. So I was constantly, even way back then, transcending, like transitioning, I should say, transitioning away from that and
Mm-hmm.
away from just the traditional kind of religion. But yeah, I get it that, it can be very, because everything is wrong. It's
Mm,
like
yeah.
wrong. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. Everything is wrong. It's bad. So even
Mm,
when you get kind of from under that, you still live. You still dealing with. So what happens sometimes when things happen to us, we're able to start dealing and addressing certain things. Um, but how that thing or what it left is also, so it's like twofold. First you got to address the thing, but then when you do that you realize this left a certain mark on me. What does that mean for me? And
mhm.
so yeah, I think that that's
Okay.
a good start though.
Definitely, definitely. And then Caesar Stars, and I know Brooke made a comment too, but let's just follow up because Caesar Star piggybacked on what she said. She said, it's been a long journey, lots of layered self-acceptance. Yes, definitely more spiritual and following my intuition. Those are all really, really great, really great. Following new teachers as they come about. And I've been following you for a bit now. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Ashe. And that's really important. I'm glad you're doing that. And it's a process. So just being gentle on yourself, being loving, being kind, and just doing the work and just being aware of what thoughts are coming in from where, and because oftentimes um sexuality and sexual energy is very powerful. It's one of the most powerful energies there is. And so with the church, now originally the church is a lot about domination and control. It's not really to save your soul. It's a business and they make money. Like, it's a business, you know? So and I don't want to offend anybody. Hopefully I don't. It's a reality. It is a business, right? And so um and I've seen different things. Like, so for me, I prefer to have a relationship with God, with Christ, with Allah, with the Orishas, with the deities, myself, right? Because there's so many different things and there's not one that's correct and the others are wrong, right? So
Yes.
I've incorporated a lot of these different religions and things that I've studied, living in Brazil, learning about the Orishas and Candomblé. You know, I've lived for 2 years in a Zen Buddhist temple. So I take on all of those different practices, and that's my spirituality, right? And so Brooke says, I don't have shame surrounding self pleasure. However, I do have shame surrounding watching explicit videos. Do you think that's justified? A really great question. Brooke, hopefully you're still on here because I know it took a second to answer that, but hopefully you're still on. Let us know you're still on, but we're going to answer that question. Do you want to go first?
um
She says, do you think
when
it's
someone
uh,
asks, do you think that it's justified, that means she's not comfortable.
mm,
And it's not really whether I feel like it's justified or not. Like, if she's not comfortable, she's not going to enjoy it.
right?
So, and also she might want to ask herself, is she replacing what it if because she may not be replacing it for anything. She just might enjoy it. So those are
Mm-hmm.
questions. Am I enjoying it or am I replacing it for something else? Because that's the only way. Like some women or men may talk about they've done it for so long they can't enjoy it any other way unless they're watching something. So
Right.
for me, so it's not to make her feel bad or anything. It's just like when you start asking those questions, that means you're not comfortable. If you're not comfortable, even if you thought it was, even if I told you it was okay, you still wouldn't be comfortable to enjoy it because you have to figure out for yourself, what does this mean for me? And am I replacing it with something else?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense, and that's good because it's always like self-reflection. So what's going on? Um, what's going on that there is shame surrounding explicit videos? Now you're, and so I like your answer, Tressa. Like, do we think it's justified? It's not for us to say whether we think it's justified or not, right? It's for you to really evaluate. Okay, what's going on? Why am I feeling shame around watching explicit videos? What's going on with that? What, where in my mind do I feel like there's something wrong with this? Or what's happening when you watch it? When you watch it, does it trigger something? Is it triggering an abuse? Or did you see something? Or is it triggering, maybe you happen to see your parents have sex or something? Sometimes kids see, parents have sex or different things, and they don't even realize it, but it causes some type of trauma in their mind, right? Depending on what was going on, or, you know, so there's so many different things for you to evaluate. And now, because we're talking about explicit videos, for me, um, in my line of training, and I don't know how you feel about this, Tressa, but for me, in my line of training, I don't necessarily think watching porn, and I know you didn't say porn, I'm just going to this level, right?
Mhm.
I don't think watching porn is healthy in a sense, and I'll tell you why. Because porn, but you can get pleasure. Some people get pleasure, and I know there's more conscious porn, which I would recommend over the traditional and regular porn
Yeah.
if you're going to watch conscious porn. But so what happens, from what I notice with my clients, I've had so many clients that's come, men and women, that's end up having issues because of porn. So women begin to feel more self-conscious, like, what's wrong with me, something's going on, because they're watching porn and they're like, well, why is my body not responding like this? Why is this not happening? Right? Because it's not real. That's why that's not happening. It's not real. It's not realistic. And then men are watching porn and they're thinking, this is how I have to do it, this is how she's going to get off, and they're doing something that women don't even enjoy. So instead of being present and connecting to your partner and seeing what your partner enjoys and exploring, you're doing what you're watching and you're thinking, this is how it has to be. Now, another thing that I've realized with men that I've worked on, they're watching porn and then they're jacking off, right? And so what happens is they start to develop premature ejaculation. And I've worked with men in their 30s who have premature ejaculation because you're training and you're conditioning your body to respond to the stimulus and to come very quickly. And so for me, I feel like that's why I say these things aren't necessarily the best, but I know I went to a different level because I know you just said
So,
explicit video. So go ahead.
and what I want to say too is, there was two things that came to mind. If you don't be careful when you start to watch porn, you start to
Mhm.
try to perform. You don't
Yes.
know how to be in the moment. And so everything's about performing, and you kind of think this is how it's supposed to be. The second thing, though, a little bit pro point, only from the standpoint of, if you are not if you've never really been the one to touch your body and do these kind of things, and you, like you said, find one conscious, and you begin to look and say, maybe would I be interested in this or that
Mhm.
or something like that. When you're kind of exploring it like a question, and asking yourself questions. But if you're doing it like you said, where um habits, things that we do over this point over time become habits, and so you're, like if you're lifting weights and you stop, but when you start back, muscle memory. But if you start, like you talked about, the young men that's constantly jacking off, then their body gets used to, like you said, the things that may not work for their best interest. And
Mhm.
also, like you said, I really love that is that we may think we're supposed to respond like that. Even
Right.
without watching porn, we don't always respond the same way that somebody else would to something. We may not like it, but we may think
Right.
we're supposed to. So we're getting involved with this and not really know, what do I really like? What really
Exactly.
turns me on? What can I enjoy? And also, you'll be able to say, why does this feel numb to me?
Mm-hmm.
Why does this go ahead.
Right. Okay, now I was gonna say that's why I prefer self-exploration to masturbation, right? Self-exploration is taking the time, being present, and exploring your body, exploring what feels good and what you enjoy, right? Instead of masturbation, like, okay, let me go real quick and let's just get it, right? Let's explore, let's take some time. And this can be a meditation. It is a meditation. It's very meditative when you're present and you're in the moment. So Brooke
Especially
added
when
more.
you're using
Mhm.
your
Go ahead.
senses. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
especially when you're using your senses, your taste, your touch, when you like really present using all of your senses, it
Yeah.
really does because now you're like really like like tuned in and tapped in
Mm,
and find out what you like. Like, you know, and I don't want to get vulgar, but how do you taste? Do you like how you taste? Do you like,
girl, you ain't
how
being
do
vulgar. We keeping it real. Don't
girl,
be
all of
censoring
these different
yourself. You
okay,
should
well
taste
good.
yourself. We got to
Good,
know what
right.
our partners tasting when they going down there. Do you
Right.
taste
And
fish? Do you taste, yeah, salty? So we like, what's going on? Because those are also signs of what you might need to work on to help yourself. Go ahead.
right. And then like if you got touch is not just it could be your fingertips, it could be a cloth, it could be different things. It could be, just learning all of these things. Well, oftentimes porn doesn't give us that experience. It is hit it,
Right.
quit it, and all of this other stuff, but you don't really get a chance to be really feel and just use your whole mind, body, soul, like everything, and just kind of really feel. And then when you begin to get comfortable with that, you can tell somebody what you like, what you don't like.
Yeah.
And that does not mean that you don't won't try something and you can say to that person, I have never tried that, but no, I don't like that. Oh, yes, I do. But the point is, you're starting to know your body, you're starting to enjoy yourself and being comfortable to be able to to have these conversations. Because some of the times, there's another issue, um, not having these real conversations with the partner that you're with, like
Yes.
you don't know what to tell them. You think
Right.
that they supposed to know your body and you're mad because they don't make you feel like
How you think it's
whatever.
or whatever. Right.
How you think it's right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I think the self-exploration is also going to help with releasing that shame and guilt, right? Like help because once you know that this isn't sexuality is a natural thing. I mean, God created us. God created women with a clitoris. What its sole purpose is for pleasure. The clitoris has no other purpose than pleasure. So if there was something wrong with that, God would not have created us with the clitoris. Then God created us men with a penis, women with a vagina, right? And a vulva, where there's all sorts of pleasure within the vulva. And then it feels good when you come in. And then we're able to squirt, right? As women. So, and men can ejaculate. So there's reasons, right, that these things can happen. And so God didn't make a mistake with this. And so we have to remember that a lot of these conditioning again is to suppress our sexual energy because that is the most powerful energy. You can manifest anything that you want once you learn how to work with your sexual energy and channel your sexual energy. Y'all, I need to start doing my tantra courses again. So
Yeah,
people keep
because
asking
you
me when I'm
taught
going to
some of them. You are good at that. Yes, you
thank
should for
you,
real.
thank you. I know. I just got so much going on, but people keep asking me, when's your next tantra course? So I got to get that.
Yeah,
People are
and I want to say
asking, go
no,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I think we're like there's a lag, and I don't mean to keep talking over you. I do want to say this too. Something like I don't want to be the dead horse, but I also want to say to
Mhm.
women and men that I knew. For me, I knew a guy that he did that so much that it was hard for him to really have a good sex life with a woman because he had done it so much. He was always ejaculating that you're not gonna hurt my body and pump it like you do in your hand, and it had to be rough. Or a woman who pushes on her clitoris so much to it has to be really this hard stimulation. Um, so we have to be careful because if you have your thumb and if you're doing manual work over a while, it can become callous and you won't feel that. So kind of
Right.
like if you keep doing that to the penis or to the clitoris, and you get it to where like what used to might be sensitive for you now, it takes you really got to be pushing and doing hard. So unless a woman likes that really, a lot of times that's too much.
Yeah, a lot of times. And a lot of women don't like it, but there's some who do, right? There's some who
Yeah.
do, and there's something for everyone, right? That's why we got kink and BDSM.
Yes.
There's
Yes. Yes.
so many different things. And so it's about exploring to see what you like. And that was one of the things I was like, you know what? I'm going to explore. I've been to BDSM's kink parties, I've been to playhouses, I've been to swingers clubs, and I'm exploring to know what I like without the shame and guilt. So Brooke says, I don't believe it's natural. So going back to the watching the porn, the explicit videos, we didn't always have access to these videos in human history. I believe it is programming. Thank you, ladies, for your answer. Okay, you're welcome. So that's why she has the shame surrounding watching explicit
But
videos.
I won't say that it's not necessarily natural because if you watch the Gladiator and stuff like that, these things back then, and if you were Native Americans, probably all this stuff, it was just happening. It just wasn't, it didn't have the stigma that it has now.
Yeah.
And people don't have
And
to
that's
run and hide.
exactly. And that's what exactly what I was going to say. It's the access is different now because we have videos and television and all of this stuff. But even before videos and television, there was magazines. Before magazines, people were drawing. Like if you even go back to ancient times with Tantra and Kama Sutra, I'm sorry, Kama Sutra, they were designing it. If you even go back to ancient Egypt and the pyramids, there's sexual positions, people doing sexual acts on the walls. So it was just done in a different way. I mean, yeah,
I
like if
think
you
healthier, and people didn't look at it as it was. I don't think it was necessarily. I'm not saying it ever because we can never say never, but probably not as much performance. People were really they saw it differently. They respected it because there were sacred whores. These
right,
whores were they helped people heal. I just
yes.
love that, girl. Look. I just
I know.
love that. At
And
63, I
you
love that word.
if you even when you go back to Jesus and Mary Magdalene, who was the other woman? Was it another what was the other woman's name? Virgin
It
Mary.
was too Mary. It was
Yeah, it
too
was
Mary.
Mary.
But
Yeah,
Mary
so one
Magdalene was his girl, was they say was his sex partner.
his sex partner, Mary Magdalene, right? And then you had the Virgin Mary, the mother, right? So Mary Magdalene, I believe, um, might have been a sacred whore. I'm not sure, but I think I heard something about that. I might have to look into that. But so yeah, so so even before when you look back in history, sacred whores, they would go into temples and they were healing. They were using their sexual energy to heal. And so, like you said back then, when people were looking, because you always had exhibitionism, you've always had different ways. Again, it was the access was different, it was in different ways, but the connotation towards it was more of a healing and it wasn't the stigma around it. And
Yeah.
so that's the difference. So it is natural. I agree what you said, Tressa. It is natural. It is definitely a natural thing. And this is something that's always been around. Yes, the access is a little different, but there was still access before, and it was all over. Go to India. I've been to India, and they have the Shiva statues, which is the penis, right? So you go if you travel any country, majority of the countries, you anytime you go into a souvenir shop, what are you going to see? You're going to see a penis key ring, penis can opener. You're going to see sexual keychain. Like it's all over. So you're seeing it, right? And like in these other countries, because I travel extensively, And every country I go to, you see these things, and there's no shame or guilt around it. Even
But then in the United States, it's different. They do have
it's
a lot of guilt and shame. So then people are
yes.
doing it more. And I
While you're
think we
talking, while you're talking real quick, I'm gonna go grab my cards because I want to show you these cards I got in Greece. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wanted to say that I feel like in the United States is just different. A lot of times there is a lot of shame around sex. And I think that it's not that we shouldn't have conversations about it. I think sometimes though the way that we have conversations, because a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people have even they just misunderstood it. It's like let's just fuck, let's just do whatever, and they've just kind of taken the beauty of the energy, what sex can do, heal and create magic and help you manifest, and just so
Yeah.
many beautiful things. It's been turned upside down, commercialized, and then we love the
Mhm.
babies, but a lot because I remember while you doing that, looking at the cards real quick, I want to say this.
Yeah.
When you were like
Mhm.
when you kind of talked about a little bit about the church and what you got. And so
Yeah.
with me, this having sex back brought me a lot of babies. And so for me, there was some shame. Ooh, I like that. So you can send me that. What did you can we order that card
This
set?
is in Greece. Sex in
Yeah, I mean,
ancient
but can
Greece.
we order that deck?
Yeah, I don't know. I bought it at a store. So just real quick. Then you got like the different positions.
Okay, so yeah, can you look in there and see if we can order that? Because I would love
I
that deck.
will. Look at that. I know. And it's so beautiful. Um, yeah, like I love it. I love it. It's like all these different positions. Lord, don't be had to my when my nieces and nephews come up in here, they be like, Auntie, what's that? This is a thing. This is playing cards I got in Greece, right? Oh, there is a website on the back. I'll put that up there.
Okay, so if you send me a picture of it so I can order me
Yeah.
some.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is awesome. Like we don't have these stigmas and these issues in different countries. I mean, I lived in Brazil 14 years. People were so open, and women and men,
You
no
know,
matter their shape or size, they were just dressing sexy and they were comfortable in their skin. Like I love it.
and then I think too, because you didn't have all that stigma and stuff, it was just normal. It wasn't like in the United States, people are just kind of like enamored by it, but at the same time trying to hide from it or whatever, because they can't totally be themselves because they fear being judged. But when it's kind of like if you work in a chocolate factory, you love chocolate. After a while, it's just like, oh, that's just chocolate.
Hmm. I'm just putting that.
Yeah,
This is
that
a
is a
cool deck.
cool deck. I know. I
Thanks.
want that deck. I want that deck.
Right. Yeah. So Sees the Stars also said, yes, I find that I can't even listen to the music the same way anymore because of how it negatively talks about sex and sensuality. I had to find new music and media too.
Oh, that's good
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we're retraining ourselves. You can't eat the same food if it's breaking your body down and expect to be healthy. So as you start to get your mindset of I want to be healthy, so healthy consciously around sensuality and sexuality, a lot of things may change. It's not just about beat it up.
Right.
You know,
Beat that thing up, beat it up, beat it up, beat it up.
I'm not saying there's nothing ever wrong with that, but it just can't be about that. And I think
Mhm.
we've taught our young men to think that that's what to do and how to get it done. And I think we taught our young women not to speak up. So they're
Right.
suffering in silence. And then they're telling some of these men, oh, 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 it feels so good, instead of telling them the truth. This ain't
Mhm.
shit. I don't like this.
Right.
This is not. So I think it's just creating a lot of unhealthy dynamics. We're not having conversations that we need to have. And because your partner tells you this is not something that feels good to them, doesn't mean that they don't enjoy you. You two may have to figure it out. But both of y'all would rather be quiet. He thinks he's doing something and she's just suffering in silence.
Mhm. So I just asked ChatGPT about Mary Magdalene and a sacred whore. But um, but this is interesting. They said from Chat GPT that the idea of Mary Magdalene as a sacred whore is a modern spiritual interpretation that blends feminist theology, Gnostic teachings, and archetypal reclamation. Um, but it's a sacred whore archetype. The concept of the sacred whore refers to ancient priestesses, like those of
Yes.
Ishtar or Isis, who use sexual energy as a path to healing, initiation, and divine union. Some modern mystics, tantrikas, and priestesses interpret Mary Magdalene through this lens as embodiment of the divine feminine, sensual healer, or sacred union partner of Christ. In this view, her sexuality is not sinful but sacred, an avenue for spiritual awakening and divine embodiment. So I love this. I love this what it says. Um
I
and
love
so
it too.
mhm.
Yeah, in 2000 and oh God, I want to say 17, I was initiated um oh, by two Native American Hopi men and a Cherokee. She was of the Cherokee tribe and a woman who did labyrinths. It was National Labyrinth Day, and I was initiated as a high priestess. I had no idea none of this was going to unfold because I kept feeling to walk the labyrinth. I kept feeling that, and it had been
Wow.
going on like that for a couple of days. And so this particular Saturday, I was like, okay, I went on walk. I went to the park. I said, let me go on down here. I'm going to walk the labyrinth. It was at the foot of. I lived in Michigan at the time, so it's at the foot of Belle Isle before you go over, and there's a portal there. Um,
Mhm.
and I
I didn't
get
know.
there, so this lady, so I knew the lady who was the Native American, the Cherokee, of the Cherokee tribe, and she had someone else who made labyrinths. They had already
Mhm.
walked. They saw me, they're like, hey, can we pray for you? And I'm like, okay.
Right.
Now they start to pray, and they like, well, can you, they asking her to tell me her name. I'm listening to them like, tell me her name, tell her her name, tell her her name. I'm thinking, okay, well, what does this mean? Because you know how sometimes people go get African names or different names. They feel that they're called to have names, a name change.
Right.
So I'm thinking, like, well, what does this mean? And I could smell cedar, I could smell fire. And then when they finished, I was getting ready to walk the labyrinth. The lady who came from Australia, her phone rang. And so she decided, she said, oh, wait a minute, I've been waiting on these two men. She said, they're from the Hopi tribe. They want to walk the labyrinth. So she goes and get them, and I'm walking the labyrinth. When I get finished, they all ask, can they put me in a circle? So it was more
Mhm.
like a square, north, south, east, west. It's four of them. I'm in the middle. And
Right.
and then the two Native American men come up. They pray for me in English. They pray for me in Native American tongue, and then they go back, and then they told everybody, "Let's ground the prayers in." So they teach us how to stomp and do whatever it is. So that night, I'm like, okay, what does all this mean? What does all this mean? I'm thinking about it that night, that Saturday morning. I heard the words, you ask for your name." And I'm like, what
Mm.
does that mean? So, well, first I heard the word high priestess. That's all I heard.
Ooh.
I heard the word high priestess. And I was like, okay, so that made me say, what does that mean? And I heard later, because it was about a week later, because I heard the word high priestess like that Sunday. But then about a week later, I was like, I'm still like, what does that mean? And it says, name means nature of a thing. You have the
Mm.
nature of a high priestess. And so I'm often referring to myself as the high priestess of pleasure, because pleasure for me is not just about sex. It is about living your best life. Like
Yes.
what you release in shame, you release in, there's sex is a part of it. But when I start to talk about sensuality and stuff, it's really tapping into your senses, really coming back into your own body, into yourself, and doing the
Yes.
things um, that really help you to be autonomous, bold, authentic, all those beautiful adverbs. So, um, Yeah. So I just love it. I love it. And, you know, I tell I dealt with something recently that really threw me, and I had to make a decision right then if I was going to carry shame or not. And somebody gave me a word, and I've been saying it ever since. I kind of added my own, but they said, be embarrassed, be inspired, and be phenomenal. So
Yes, I love
whatever is
that.
going on in your life, so for me, I took that on. Okay, this is an embarrassing moment. Now be inspired and be phenomenal around
Ashe, I love that. I love that. That is so awesome. Thank you so much. That was so good. And thank you, Brooke and Sees the Stars for commenting, asking questions. I love this because it's almost like you get like a free session, for real,
it.
for real.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, for real.
Right?
Those who
You
willing to step out.
Yes. And that's the thing. You saying those that's willing to step out. You know what? I didn't even have to you look on ChatGPT to ask any questions. It just flowed, girl. I love it. That's that great energy with us.
Yeah.
Some people have to be like, okay, let me see what ChatGPT says for me to ask you. You know? um,
Yes.
yes, thank you, Caesar Stars. But what was I about to say? I just totally forgot what I was about to say. Um, um, Dang, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh, you had said something. So, a big part of it is doing the work, right? Um,
Yes.
so we have to step up and we have to do the work, right? Like you get embarrassed, you get embarrassed. Now be inspired. The inspiration is doing the work. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not sure if this is popular belief or not, but those of us who work in a healing world, they know this to be true. Um, but there's a lot of people out there who really don't want to do the work. And it's like they come, they show up because they want to take pictures for the gram or for TikTok. They're like, I'm at this event and they're taking pictures and they're on their phone. Like I literally I've seen people at other workshops that I'm participating in mine. I'm like, you need to put your phone over there, you know?
I love that because when I have my retreats, um, this would have been the fourth or fifth year. I won't have it
Mhm.
this year. I'm gonna have a summit, but it'll be next year. But I'm saying some come and they come more for they don't get that this was really for the person that's giving it. Maybe not all, but for me, it was like serious. This is healing work, and like you said,
Mhm.
so sometimes they don't come for the healing work; they come for all the other things. But for those that do come for the healing work, um, sometimes we just, I can remember sometimes I didn't have a clue, and I was definitely clueless
Yeah.
about what that was going to look like, how much it was going to require of me, um, how to tap in and see myself different. Because growing up, I was one of those who would just tell myself, "You're stupid." And so what I didn't understand way back when, I would be tapping, but I didn't know it was tapping and I didn't have no clue. And I might say,
Mhm.
"You just stupid, stupid, stupid," or I hit my chest or something like
Yeah.
that. Or I would just be like, just very, degrading myself. And what I realized now, and I'm talking about the ones that really want to do the work, I want them to not to be too hard on yourself, because I tell people this all the time, especially when I'm doing group work. If you start right in the center and you go all the way and you go 100 miles to the right, but you should have been going to the left, when you come back, unless you take a different route, you're going to look like you're never making any progress because you're going to keep seeing the same thing.
Right.
But when you get back, and so then it feels like you're not making progress, but you really are, because you're still coming in the right direction. Then you get back to what I call back to that first space, ground zero, and then you start going in the right direction. So sometimes I know it just feels like, for those of us who are working through all these different areas of our life, that we're not making any changes or we're not making progress. But a lot of times, like if you dig a hole, you got to come back up. And so
Yeah.
you're seeing some of these same things. It looks like it, but just don't be so hard on yourself. Don't
Mhm.
speak negativity over your life. Um,
Right.
because you got
Exactly.
to come back
Exactly.
and face it. You're going to eat those words.
Yeah. So many of us are hard on ourselves, right? Um, she says, "Well, I'm so hard on myself, even in freedom of exploration. Ain't that something?" What's your sign? I'm a Virgo. Virgos are so hard on ourselves and so critical. But right, we just can't. Let me see. So I'm saying she. Are you a she or he? I'm not sure.
Would
I
love
don't know.
to hear more about exploring different spaces like the swingers club and such. It is in my list at some point, but too much fear and such comes up. Sound for tantrum. Okay.
So, the swingers club I used to go to was like between Delaware and Philly. And so I was like, I might have a spot for you. You in Philly, that's not far from you. Because even when I lived in Maryland, my partner at the time, he lived in Delaware, and we would go to he's the one who introduced me to the swingers club. So I gotta call him and ask him. So that's why I said I might have a spot for you. Let's see if he responds back to me, but it might take 2 or 3 days or something. Who knows? Um, so I'm gonna check with him and see what's that spot. But you can I don't even know how to look it up. I guess if you look it up, you might find it. I don't know because it probably has like certain names. I don't think it just says swingers clubs. So you got to know somebody who knows somebody. But I'm glad you joined too tonight, Sees the Stars. Um so how did you hear about it? Did you just happen to see this pop up on YouTube, or because I do have a newsletter that I did send out. Um so if you're not on my newsletter, you can go ahead and join my newsletter too, because a lot of people will get my message when I'm on for my newsletter. So um you could DM me, send me a message on Prandhara Prem underscore Tantra, and I'll get you that information um on Philly on a swingers club. But yeah, I think it's definitely good to explore different things, right? Like exploring in Tantra when you're with the right people is very safe. It's very loving. It's very healing. Okay, so you said you follow me on IG. I found you
Yes,
by looking up freedom of sexuality. Oh, okay. Oh, cool, 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 cool.
that's good.
Awesome.
You know,
Yeah, that's
'cause
good.
I know when and also let me trust your intuition because I have never when I didn't question it and just did it,
Hmm.
um, and it always turned out well for me. So when I I saw what Jay was doing, I was like, okay, well, can you come here? Um,
Yeah,
I started to
I think I
learn
might have found
about.
him through you. I must have
Yeah,
found him through you.
so he was. I love
He
this
was the one
brother,
in
and so
Florida, right?
right, and he was so respectful. He was the one that consent and boundaries. None of that stuff where you've been touched and all that kind of stuff. And he held such safe space. And I remember they were a month apart. The first time I had sometimes they say it go up and come up, but the first time I had one, it was like it came down like a ball, just kind of rolled up of
Mhm.
sexual energy and shot out. And then the next time it was like it shot up. But it was just so the energy in itself, the space was
Yeah.
just like so amazing. I just,
Mhm.
it was amazing. And so sometimes it's okay too for us, like you doing this type of work to come. Like again, for me right now, it's not as much the sexual piece, but getting women prepared to be
Yes.
connected back to themselves so they can go to women like you to do
Mhm.
that part of the work,
Right.
and to be willing to explore. They can
Exactly.
start small. It doesn't have to be something major. I know someone said they like being tied up. They like kink. And for
Mhm.
me, I remember I call it vanilla and chocolate. Start
Yes.
off with the vanilla, really
Yes.
soft stuff, and then if you like it, explore.
Mhm. And that's the thing, like, you know, um, Tantra, if you want to start like reading books, Urban Tantra is a really good book. There's a lot of good books out there. But it's, when you start to go to tantric events, I'm not sure if I know of too many in Philly. I might. I've actually done one in Pennsylvania. I've done a tantric event, but it was in Pittsburgh. And I do a lot of events in the DMV in New York as well, and here in Atlanta, in Miami, and then of course Brazil, because I love the
Ah,
Brazil.
okay, look at you.
Um, but those are my ground, my stomping grounds, and I have family in Philly, so I do go to Philly often, but I've never done a workshop in Philly, and maybe that might be something I might have to try to do. Um, but tantra, I think it's really important to like get into, because like Tresa is saying, like you really get to learn your body, you get to connect yourself. And when I do tantra courses online, so I do teach tantra online. I got to start back up, it's been a minute, but I teach a tantra basics class where we're learning breath work, we're learning how to do the microcosmic orbital breathing, where that energy is moving up. We're learning different tantric meditations, active meditation, somatic um, movement, to release the stuck energy in your body, to release what no longer serves you, and getting your body to be a clear vessel, right? And then I teach it in more advanced tantric breath work. I don't know if any of you have ever seen my videos or my posts with the breath work where people are like crying and they're screaming. Like, breath work is powerful, and you can release so much. I've had people do breath work and have orgasms with breath work. I've done breath work with
Yes.
people and they end up going to like a past life, and or you having a regression and seeing different things. So there's so much that could happen just from a simple breath work exercise. So I definitely say, if you have an opportunity to go ahead and participate in some tantric events. If you could come to Atlanta, come to Atlanta. I'm always doing something. I got cacao and cuddles Sunday from 3 to 5, where we're gonna drink cacao, open up that heart space, allow for emotional release, and just connect to sacred, safe, consensual touch. And then if you want to really go deeper and do some plant medicine and connect to the Orishas, I got Awakening the Spirit Plant Medicine Retreat, January 27th to February 5th in Salvador, Brazil. Check out Soledad O'Brien's YouTube. She interviewed me. It's now on YouTube. It was on the news. I was on Fox on an interview about Black Rome, and it's really good getting you to see Salvador and what brought me to Salvador and my work with Tantra. And then I was also the Tantra couples therapist on Married at First Sight, season 10, episode 10. So I've done a lot of different things. I have a lot of experience. And so I truly love this work because I've seen a huge transformation in my life. I've seen myself change, I've seen myself heal and grow. And I think that's really important. So, Tressa, anything you want to share? In closing, do you have anything coming up? Anything you would like to invite people to? Um,
Um,
or anything?
so I have a book coming out called Leaving the Walk of Shame, Reclaiming Power and Personal Truth. I'm hoping it'll be out in the next 2 months. It's at the publisher and we're working through some things.
Okay.
In October, usually Centrally
And
Empowered
you
Woman
already have
has.
another book you have out already.
I
You already have a
do.
book.
I have a lot of journals. You could be found on Amazon, and at one point they were at Barnes and Nobles and Walmart, but I don't really frequent some of those places anymore. And then my very first book was called Almost. Girl, wait a minute, Lord, that went up through my name. Hold up, and almost girl. I cannot believe I can't remember my first book.
How you gonna forget your first book, girl?
I know it's an
Listen.
it'll come back to me. So I have my first book and I was dealing with I became part of a book where you write poetry and things like that. And a group, and it seemed like all this poetry was just coming up. But I will have to tell everybody, I had been working with Maya Angelou and a lot of them on my altar. I had been working with a lot of our ancestors who write in things, and I had been doing and honoring them. And one, like all this poetry and stuff started coming up. And a year later, I realized that it was my healing journey through a lot of trauma. There
Mm.
was a lot of things that I wrote about. And I think it was called an almost 60-year journey through to self-acceptance. Finally
Oh, wow.
naked, an almost 60-year journey to self-acceptance. That's what it's called. Like I was like all of a sudden,
I remember
finally
your book
naked.
Naked. I remember your book
Yeah,
Naked.
finally naked, an almost 60-year journey to self-acceptance. And that's it. And then those are other journals and things that you can see. Um, yeah, so I love to you're so sweet. Thank you. I remembered it right before you pulled it up. And then in in October the 17th through the 19th, we are having a summit. The 17th and 18th, we're having a summit. That Friday will be like a couple hours, and then an all-day summit on Saturday. That will take place of the retreat. We usually do a 4-day retreat here in Arizona. We had done that for 4 years. It would have been our 5th year, but we're gonna do a summit. Um, and I need to talk
Where
to
in
you. So,
Arizona are you? Yeah. Huh?
huh? I said
Where
I
in
need to talk
Arizona?
to you.
Where?
With so in Arizona, the summit is going to be online. It's going to be virtual, but
Oh,
the
okay, that's right.
retreat is always in person. So yes, we have
Okay.
it's going to be 6 women. So yeah,
Oh, good. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's
it's about,
awesome.
and it's called the Year of the Orgasm.
Yes, I've been seeing that. So listen, if y'all are not following Tresa, and am I saying your name correctly?
Tresa, yes.
Okay, then I'm saying it correctly. Okay, good. Because I have another friend who I don't know if I told you that before. It's so funny because you're Tresa Simmons and she's Tresa Timmons, but she says Teresa. But it's spelled the same way, and it's Teresa Timmons. So every time I see, I'm like, wait, like, because my brain is going, and I knew her in high school. My brain goes to that, and I'm like, wait, am I saying her name right? Is hers Teresa or her Tresa? Like, I'll be like,
Tresa,
okay,
yes.
I'm good. I've been saying it correctly. Okay, just wanted to make
Hmm.
sure. So yes, if you are not following Tressa, go ahead and follow her on IG, Radical Transformation with T, and her go to her link in her bio. The books and everything is in there. Everything is in there. And you got a great website, girl. I love it.
Thank
Absolutely love it.
you.
You're welcome. So let me see, what does it say? Oh wait.
Oh, and
Okay. So
also I want to let everybody know on my website I have if you go on the website for Centrally Empowered Woman, there is Tressa's Pleasure Chest. Even though it's kind of being revamped, it's my online store. And if you transform it to Conversations and Solutions, it is conversation pieces. So we're trying to separate everything a little bit more. But yeah, so there's also where you can get some interesting things, interesting shirts and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yes, go there, y'all. Go there. So sees the stars. Child, I love the Am I Too Vanilla for my free self. When you start exploring,
You know,
you'll know. You'll be like,
yes.
"Oh, I was too vanilla for my free self," or no, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. You know what I did? I had a kink and BDSM retreat, virtual kink and BDSM retreat. It was so good. It was so much fun because we got the people into role playing, playing dominatrix.
Oh,
We were pairing people up. Had a good time. I'm gonna have to do that again. I'm gonna have to do. This was during the pandemic, since people weren't traveling and all that. So I started doing my retreats online, and I saw that they're still a lot of fun. All right.
they are.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, what? Yes, you must have been. You must have an event now. It's aligned. Yes. And so it is. I love it. I will be looking up both of your future events. So grateful for you both tonight. Thank you for the gems. Thank you.
Thank
Ashe,
you.
Ashe,
Thank
Ashe,
you.
Ashe. So I'm gonna be at some point. I love your we're gonna talk after this because I love your website and I'm gonna have to
Thank
set
you.
mine up because I am starting now to make tinctures, herbal tinctures, salves, and different things for like stress, anxiety to assist women. I'm making herbs for yoni steams. I'm gonna start making different
Now I
things.
need that because I'm a yoni practitioner and I do need to be able to get some herbs.
Okay, yeah, yeah, because I do yoni steaming too, and I'm taking a Haitian traditional folkloric two-headed doctor course where we're incorporating herbal medicine and different things like that. So I've been making the tinctures, the salves, the teas, all of that,
Oh,
and that's I'm gonna be adding that to my store soon. I'm gonna be creating the store on my website.
oh,
So. Um,
good.
and right now, I'll be selling a lot of stuff in my in person events and things like that. So, yes, I'm excited too. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Tressa, so much. This was
Thank you
so
for having
great.
me.
Yeah, this
Yes.
was great. Like, we have to definitely do this again. Great energy. You were very knowledgeable. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And thank you all for coming on. Love you guys. Share this so other people can catch the replay.
Yes.
And those of you watching the replay, feel free to comment, ask any questions on the replay, and we can come and respond to that. All right, love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you,
Thank you,
Tressa.
everyone. Thank you.